Good evening, everyone. President Obama taking a strong stand today on an open and free internet. He called for strict new rules that would regulate the internet and web access as if it were a public utility like electricity or water. Specifically, the president is asking the Federal Communications Commission to reclassify web access to prevent cable and telephone companies from providing special access to some content providers. Well, cable company stocks sold off sharply on news of President Obama's proposal. Time Warner Cable tumbling 5%. Comcast, the parent of CNBC, which produces this broadcast, down 4%. Charter Communications was the hardest hit, off more than 6%, and Cablevision lost about 1.5%. Eamon Javers has more on the president's call for so-called net neutrality and why the cable giants oppose it. So, Eamon, what exactly did the president say today?
Well, the president went farther today than he's ever gone before in this so-called net neutrality debate. The whole debate is about whether or not internet service providers can charge different fees for access to different websites or speed up or slow down service to particular websites based on who's paying them money. The president's saying he doesn't want those internet service providers to be allowed to do that, weighing in today by calling for the FCC to use its so-called Title II regulatory authority to oversee this entire process. The president was in China today, but the White House released this web video. Take a listen to the president in this video that was released earlier this morning.
The FCC is an independent agency, and ultimately this decision is theirs alone. But the public has already commented nearly 4 million times, asking the FCC to make sure that consumers, not the cable company, gets to decide which sites they use.
The telecommunications industry doesn't necessarily like this, though. We talked to Michael Powell. He's the former chairman of the FCC, now active in industry. And we asked him what he made of the president's decision today. He said it was surprising. Take a listen.
By radically asking for this kind of tectonic shift in national policy, you're talking about dumping public utilities regulation over the most vibrant infrastructure in the history of the world, with, I think, unforeseeable and unintended consequences that will hurt consumers and I think hurt the U.S. economy.
Interestingly, what Powell said those unintended consequences might be include foreign policy complications for the Obama administration, which has been arguing overseas that other countries like China and Russia should not try to regulate the internet. And he also said that the implications for Silicon Valley firms, which have been innovating so aggressively over the past decade or so on the internet, those could be unforeseen as well, guys. So a very complicated issue. The president weighing in here today, big time.
What have you heard today from some of the companies that would be affected here, both the Silicon Valley companies that are the content creators or deliverers and the companies that carry their signals?
Well, look, Tyler, it really depends on whose ox is being gored here. If you talk to Comcast, they say they don't like this decision. They don't think that the government should have any role here. But if you talk to Netflix, for example, which stands to benefit, they say they liked it very much. It's a very appropriate decision by the president. So it's all in where you sit depends on where you stand in all this.
And Eamon, any news or any reaction from congressional leadership on this issue?
Yeah, we saw some really interesting politics around this today. Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican from Texas who might be a 2016 presidential candidate for the Republicans, tweeted out that he thinks that this regulation here could be the new Obamacare. And we saw John Boehner, the Republican Speaker of the House, come out and say that he doesn't think that federal bureaucrats should be in charge of regulating the internet at all.
All right, well, that's surely going to heat up things in Washington.